Opportunity to close out what's been a bit of a rough 5-game homestand and do it on a positive note. We get you set for the Oilers and the Blues on the Oil Stream pregame show. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hope you're doing well. It is the Oil Stream pregame show live on location at Hudson's White Avenue. If you're coming down this way, White Ave, and you don't have anything to do, don't know where to watch the game, maybe you want a GC, I'll hook you up. Come down. Say hi, can't miss me, right out front on this lovely, lovely, chilly Wednesday as we get set for the Oilers and the Blues. Tom Gazzola and YouTube Trev with you. Our game analyst, Matt Kassian, will be along for the ride a little bit later on in the program, and we'll get you set. We'll go inside the Oilers locker room from earlier today. Optional morning skate for the Orange and Blue, and then the Blues, of course, playing last night in Winnipeg, losing to the Jets 4-2. We'll hear from head coach Drew Bannister. Of course, you can text us 780-218-9999. And I already see the nasty chat is everybody's exchanging pleasantries and good evening. Hello. Here we go. This is it. Hi, Tommy. Pour it on, says Caster 1990. Good evening, nasty, says VR Montenegro. Charlie says, after losing last night in Winnipeg, the Blues are really desperate and will bring their best possible A game. Should be a good game. Jen says, hello, all. Hello, Jen. And Joel is in, says, where's my rolls? I like this. Smith TM14 says, Tommy, what do you think of the Cards drafting Marvin Harrison Jr.? I think it's a lock. You know what, Smith TM14? I like it. Let's get some receiver help to help Kyler Murray in that offense make it work. NFL draft right around the corner. I was watching Mel Kiper's mock draft today a little bit, and I was like, man, we're talking football already, but we've been talking about CFL, getting excited about that. And then, of course, the NFL has become a 12-month discussion, kind of like hockey. So, yeah, bring it on. Bring it on. And I like Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals. Great question. And anything to make that damn team better, because it has been a painful couple of seasons with the Bird Gang. All right, let's get YouTube Trev on here. YouTube Trev, put yourself on camera. How you doing? You're holding things down back at EST HQ.
Yeah. It's going good, Tommy. It's been a solid day. I started the morning with the Nielsen show, and then went home, got a little nap in for today's pre and post, and I'm pumped, Tommy. The last time the Oilers played the Blues, I was away for that week, so I didn't really get to see much on the game. I don't really have any insight on that game, but all I know is it should be a good one, and I've been saying that a lot lately. But every game's a good game when the Oilers lace them up. So yeah, I'm pumped, and that's about all I got, Tommy.
Hey, I was wearing that same toque that Jay Milne hooked us up with earlier. That's a Wildcats
unbelievable
toque. It is so warm. I was wearing it earlier. It is chilly out there. Great toque, and big thank you to our glue guy, Jay Milne, for doing that. And what's going on with the panel, the soundproofing behind you? I thought I fixed that one, or is that the one beside it now?
I just noticed that. Yep.
That's the one beside it?
Oh, no, that is it. What the heck? I just noticed that. I don't know. It looks like the nail.
Nailed that bad boy in.
Yeah, the nail. I don't know. The nail's still in the wall, Tommy. I don't know. I didn't even notice that.
Boy.
So here, I'll do this.
That is not good.
I'll do this.
Have to fix that.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at that. 780-218-9999. You can text us if you're listening on your drive home on iTunes or iHeartRadio, or if you're listening on TuneIn or just via our audio channel. We appreciate that so much. And then if you're watching on YouTube, thank you as always. Get in on the nasty chat and smash that thumbs up on your way in. It's like going to a house party. You take off your shoes, take off your coat. Greetings to everybody, and we just ask that you hit the thumbs up button. Appreciate that very, very much. Rays 48 says, hey, Tom, what do you say about the article that came out saying Kane is causing a rift in the room? I need to see that article first before I comment on it. I have some things that are in my mind. Where did you see it? If someone wants to send the link, I will gladly read it and just assess what was said, because I'll just leave it at that. Did you see it earlier today, Trev?
That is
by
the
any
first
chance?
I heard of that one, Tommy. Yep. No,
Okay, I want to
didn't
see
hear
it.
that one.
Depends. I need to see where it came from, what the sources are, and I'll just reserve comment until then. They need Evander Kane to play well. They need him to not cause any stir in the room. They need him to be a good soldier like he has been for the majority of his tenure as a member of the Edmonton Oilers as they take on the Blues. Edmonton 34-20-2. St. Louis, meanwhile, 30-26-2. The Blues need this one. The Blues are 6 points back of a wild card spot going into action tonight. Edmonton wants to continue to maintain and create more separation between them and the Kings and the Flames all of a sudden, and Nashville's in the mix. And so this is an important game for the Oilers. And you'll recall the last time I was here on the 15th, our inaugural on location at Hudson's White Avenue. The Oilers got pumped 6-3 by the very same St. Louis Blues that we will witness tonight. Calgary, by the way, even though they've won 4 in a row at 63 points through 59 games, Edmonton does have games in hand on the Kings and the Nashville Predators. 4 games in hand on the Preds, 2 on the LA Kings, who we saw here a couple of nights ago. So things good schedule-wise in terms of games left in hand for the Oilers, but, they're still just slightly above and ahead of the Preds and the LA Kings. I do want to float the question of the night out to everyone. Text us 780-218-9999 or via the nasty chat saying which potential trade targets entice you the most as we approach the deadline. Of course, I say that because we have an opportunity tonight collectively to scout Pavel Buchnevich. Of course, he's a guy that has been getting a lot of discussion. His name has been out there. I was told that the Blues are indeed shopping him, even though it sounds like Doug Armstrong's been a little bit coy and actually flat out saying that. But he is out there, and the big insiders have been saying it for about a week, 2 weeks now. And if they're saying it, there's definitely smoke there. So what say you as we all watch Buchnevich? He does have a 12-team no trade list. I'm not sure if the Oilers are on that list. That is a significant list that takes out about a third of the league. I would assume that they are on the list because they usually are, regardless of McDavid and Draisaitl being on the team. And he would have to probably waive it. I don't know 100% for sure, but I'm assuming he is or does have the Oilers on that 12-team no trade list. So which big name free agents that might be available and trade targets that might be available entice you the most as we approach the deadline? 780-218-9999 or in the nasty chat. Just want to hear from you because we'll all watch Buchnevich tonight. And if you're wondering, what's the deal with this Pavel Buchnevich guy? Well, through 56 games this year on a so-so Blues team, kind of in the mix, but kind of not in the mix. He's got 23 goals, 24 assists, 47 points. He's a plus 10 with 40 penalty minutes so far this season. Top line guy for a Blues team that has lost O'Reilly, has gotten rid of Tarasenko, and have moved on from some other pieces in the last year or two. So let us know your thoughts. Would you still like to see Gensel instead of Buchnevich? Would you rather see someone else instead of those two that I just mentioned? We want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts. And as always, I will pass on the question of the night to our producer, YouTube Trev. Trev, what say you?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can look about this, Tommy. Like realistically, are the Oilers going to go for Jake Gensel? I mean, I can't imagine that happening. But if
I think they'll inquire.
I think they'll inquire, but like whether they
Yeah.
land a guy like Jake Gensel, I mean, asking I'd have to see the trade. Like I'd have to see what the Oilers are willing to offer. Like there's so much that goes into this question. But right, like Hello Hockey, David Pagnotta, our insider, what he said was Adam Henrique is a guy that the Oilers might have some interest to, and I think that's the most realistic and a player I really like. Like I've talked about it a little bit on not Hello Hockey, the Nielsen show, and on pre and post. I like him a lot. He's coming off of a career year right now. He's and you talk about teams that don't really have much. Like Anaheim Ducks have nothing, and he's like a main driver. So you get more options. You have him on the third line center. He's a little versatile player. You get some experience. He checks off a lot of boxes. So as far as being realistic and a player that I I really like, and he's just a very versatile player. He can chip in on the penalty kill as well. I think Adam Henrique checks a lot of boxes, so I'm intrigued with that. But again, the asking price has to be right. I'd love to be a fly on the wall to see what's going on trade deadline, because if it's a first, but in saying that, like if the Oilers can do inquire about Buchnevich, like I'm very intrigued about that as well, Tommy. Like you look at the points he had like 3 years ago, he had a career year in his first year with St. Louis, and you look at him this year, 47 points and 56 games played. Like that's like really impressive numbers. And definitely like he'd be slotted on the second line with Leon Draisaitl, you have to imagine. And if that doesn't work, oh well, he gets to play with Connor McDavid, and he's more of a playmaker than a goal scorer, but he can also score. He's a 30-goal scorer once in his career, so. Those two players, I think, are the most realistic, and are two players that I'm pretty keen on the Oilers getting.
Buchnevich, he's like a point-a-game guy, especially the last 3 years. If I'm remembering it correctly, without the numbers right in front of me, it's about 190 points in 192 games, somewhere around there. So pretty impressive for Buchnevich. And playoff-wise, Trev, I know you mentioned Henrique, and that's an interesting one, and Dave Pagnotta has been talking about it every weekend, essentially. When we finally get to Oilers chatter on Hello Hockey, he always mentions Henrique is a possibility for the Oilers. But with Buchnevich, it's interesting because he's played 20 playoff games. He has 1 goal and 11 assists in 12 penalty minutes. Those are his numbers in the playoffs. Does that concern you, Trev, when you hear those numbers? And to our listeners and our viewers, would that concern you? Because you kind of want him, yes, for the stretch drive, but then you also want him to be a healthy contributor to the playoff run. And in 21-22, in the 22 playoffs, in 12 playoff games, he had a goal and 10 assists. So that's still a point a game, basically. But would you like to see more goals? What say you?
Yeah,
YouTube,
yeah, definitely. I think you'd like to see a little bit more, but like coming off of his last playoff performance, which was in 21-22, his first year with the St. Louis Blues, you got, in 12 games played, 11 points, 1 goal, 10 assists. That's pretty decent production. That's better production than you got from Jordan Eberle in his first playoffs bout with the Oilers. So I think it's not bad. And then you look at his first 8 games played, like his first playoff series or time he went to the playoffs in 2016-17. He's a rookie. He played 5 games. You're not going to expect a rookie to do that much in the playoffs. And then he didn't go to the playoffs for 4 years, where he played 3 games, was pretty invisible, got 0 points in those 3 games. But, just his most recent case being in the playoffs, 11 points in 12 games, that's decent. Like and there's not a lot of, I'm just trying to think. Like, I think that's like doing better than Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. So yeah, it's I'd like to see. There's just so much that goes into it, but I mean, personally, if he's doing that on a St. Louis Blues team with no real heavy hitters, you lace him up with Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid, you have to think those numbers only go up, and his numbers have only continued to be pretty consistent with the last 3 years being in the Blues organization. So, yeah, it is kind of worrisome that he only has 1 goal in those 12 games played with the Blues in that playoff stint, but in saying that, he got 10 apples, and he's just under a point per game player. As long as he's getting points, so they don't have to be goals, but at least he's contributing offensively. So yeah.
I agree with a lot of that, to be honest with you. Trev, well done, buddy.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. But Tommy, do you have any insight? Is there any a player that you're intrigued on?
Oh man, I always laugh about this now because I'm like, get a defenseman. Please go get a defenseman. Just get another defenseman. Knock on wood for Oilers fans that nobody gets banged up on the back end. I do like the idea of a Adam Henrique. I do have time for the idea of a Pavel Buchnevich. But if it's 2 first-rounders, Trev, that's super, super pricey for a guy like that. And I know he has term left. He has another year left. I think it's 5.8. I don't think the Gensel one has a huge chance of happening. It sounds really intriguing. He's a very, very good player. But I don't know. And then, going off of what Pagnotta has said, he keeps pointing at Philadelphia for the Oilers and a couple of possibilities there, or maybe a defenseman, maybe a forward. Um, so I don't know, and like I've got time for it. Let's just put it that way. And if you can bolster this lineup and you can get creative and find a way to squeeze a $5 million forward like that in, all the power to you. But don't forget the rest of the roster as well, and that means a defenseman. So, VR Montenegro and Ginger are here. Hello, guys. Thanks for coming down. Very nice to see them. I've got a GC for them, by the way. I've got a ton of GCs. But yeah, Trev, any way you can bolster this lineup going into the postseason, if it's a top six guy and slides guys down, um, I'm all for it. So the time is now. If you can find a way to do it and you can get a good deal on it, doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, maybe an arm and a couple of toes, then go for it.
Yeah.
Then go for it.
And I know the Oilers are, they're definitely in win now mode. Like everyone's talked about it for the last few years. They've been in win now. Like it's cup or bust, right? But you have to be, somewhat aware of the future. And I know not a lot of people have time and day for that conversation, but it's like win one, win two, first you got to win one, but it would be nice to see the Oilers, be contenders for a while, not just like a 1 year, right? So that's something you got to keep in mind as well.
All right, let's get to some texts. I see Norm in a combine says, I'm back. Go Oil. Norm on a sled. He told me last week when he was at the watch party on Bourbon Street that he was ready to go sledding and sent in a fantastic picture. Looking good, Norm. Looks like a lot of fun. Good powder, fresh snow. That's nice to see. He says he needs an ESD handmade to come fix it. Norm, I hope you're okay. Stay warm, buddy. Stay warm. Fat Dan texting in says, am I the only one worried about the rumors of trading Fogle and or Holloway to upgrade the top six when it further compromises a really subpar bottom six that will be victimized in the playoffs? Same goes for trading Kulak when he's been a beast in the playoffs the past few years, and they only have 6 NHL caliber D-men. Looking forward to the Oil to making amends for their last outing, which was the first versus St. Louis. That's from Fat Dan, who also adds, my rationale being that to offer the most benefit by trading for a top six winger, it pushes guys down into roles more suited to them, which doesn't work if they don't have those guys. So, Fat Dan, I think, is saying, give up prospects or picks rather than actual roster players. I understand that. And then, it does come back to you got to give to get. But if you can give picks and not roster players, then Fat Dan, I think, if I'm interpreting that right, you have time for that type of move. How bad is the bottom six? Like, I know people have been saying bottom six, and it hasn't just been this year. It's been in years past, but are they like one player away from being an okay bottom six? Do they need 2 players to be an okay bottom six? It feels like that target's always moving for some. Some hate the bottom six. Some are okay with it. I think it can be an adequate bottom six. I think it's one good player away from being an all right, decent bottom six. What do you think, Trev?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I think like they're just under like the middle of the pack. I'm not gonna lie, I play a lot of Chell, and I can
don't even go there.
But as far as you look at the ratings, you look at the players on the Oilers' bottom six. They're not highly rated. When you look at teams like the Dallas Stars, well, it's true. Like the depth, like it shows. It's on paper, and it's like so. I do think that they are They're a lesser bottom six team. I think one player in the bottom six would definitely help them out a lot, which is why I'm so intrigued on getting a player like Adam Henry, because one player, that could do so much. Like it really could, Tommy. So, but honestly, yeah, like I definitely think for top six in the NHL, the Oilers are, they don't have the most depth. I'll say that.
One via the nasty chat says, we've bitched and moaned for over a decade. We need stronger defense. Do we trade Nurse, Bush, Bro, Kemp, and Vinny and rebuild the whole thing, or do we need familiar faces for playoffs? One, good to hear from you. Thank you for getting in on the nasty chat. And then this one from Doofish P, great handle, says, need 3 players and a goalie. Alexis says, I love the rationale. Hello, Alexis. All right, let's get into the text line. And Norman Combine said, do you need a handyman, not a handmaid? Norm, I'm reading verbatim what you're writing from out in the mountains. Your spell check needs work. I'm just kidding, Norm. Love you, buddy. Jay in the Park, Texan, says, Tommy, the most impactful fourth line the Oilers have had all year was with Hamblin as a center. Too many other forwards not bringing it night in and night out. What are they waiting for? Bring him up at least until improvements at the deadline. That's from Jay in the Park. And then Spruce Grove Corey. Hello, Spruce Grove Corey says, would it be crazy to suggest bringing back Barry? I could see the cost being minimal, and Nashville would probably retain. Interesting. If Nashville would retain. Doesn't sound like Barry and Barry Trotz, GM of the Preds, get along that well. Maybe I'm listening to that. If you can't find anything else, sure. His defense got way better. If he's not an everyday guy for the rest of the year, I've got time for that. 780-218-9999. Get at us in the text line, and the Nasty Chat is doing its thing. The question of the night, one more time: which potential trade targets entice you the most as we approach the deadline? Let's get into starting lineups, and then we'll go inside the Oilers locker room, and Matt Kassian, our game analyst, will be joining us with Game Changers in about 15 minutes' time. Tom Gazzola on location at Hudson's White Avenue. It's still sunny out. Traffic, it's going. Actually, not that bad making my way down from the core of the city to White Ave, but roads are a little bit slick. Be safe, be patient out there, and be cordial is what I would say. Starting lineups for the Oilers. This is what we're anticipating. You'll hear from Chris Knobloch. He's not going to make any changes with the group going into tonight. Maybe we see a shuffling of the deck if things are not going well for the Oil versus the Blues. So we'll see McDavid start with Draisaitl and Hyman, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins centering Evander Kane and Matthias Janmark. Look at Janmark up in the top six. He's a warrior. Big fight, big goals the last couple of games for Janmark. Just a jack of all trades. That's why he was so high up in my rankings of importance going into the season earlier in the year. And then Ryan McLeod between Fogle and Perry. Derek Ryan, who did not skate yesterday but is good to go and is expected to play centering Dylan Holloway. And Connor Brown on defense for the Oilers. Nothing changes. Nurse with Ceci, Ekholm with Bouchard, Kulak with Desharnais, and out Sam Gagner, the veteran, the lone extra player on the roster. As for the St. Louis Blues, this is per Jeremy Rutherford, who covers the team. He is the go-to when it comes to anything Blues, although Andy Strickland, who is on the morning show, is excellent as well. Same for Lou Korak, who we had on the pregame show a couple of weeks ago, but JR always on the ball when it comes to the Blues. He has Robert Thomas between Pavel Buchnevich, who everybody's going to be watching tonight, and Jordan Kyrou. Braden Shen centering Zachary Bolduc, and Jake Neighbors, the former Oil King, putting together a really solid season, is the youngster for the Blues. Kevin Hayes between Brandon Saad and Alexei Toropchenko. Then we've got Oscar Sundquist with Nikita Alexandrov and former Oiler Nathan Walker. On defense for St. Louis tonight, Nick Leddy with Colton Parayko from St. Albert. Torrey Krug with Justin Falk, and Marco Scandella paired up with Tyler Tucker. No Scott Perunovich, no Sammy Blais for St. Louis. Starting goalies tonight for the Edmonton Oilers, 25-year-old Stuart Skinner, 26, 13, and 2 on the season, 270 goals against average, 903 save percentage, 2 shutouts in 42 games played this year. Skinner versus St. Louis, 1-1-1, 292 GAA, 909 save percentage in the 3 appearances. Lifetime versus St. Louis. At the other end of the rink, 30-year-old Jordan Binnington getting the nod. 2016 and 2, a 293 GAA, 909 save percentage, 3 shutouts in 41 games this season. Binnington versus Edmonton, 5-2 record, 289 GAA, 898 save percentage, 1 shutout in 8 games. Lifetime versus Edmonton for the feisty, combative, sometimes excellent Jordan Binnington. Anything stand out to you, Trev, about the lineup?
For the Oilers, no significant changes really. I didn't mind what Kane, RNH, and Janmark had to offer last game, so will that continue? Maybe. The third line, as well. It's been a while since McLeod has chipped in. I think he's going in at 14 games or 13 games goalless drought. So it'd be nice to see him score. And again, that's talking about that depth we were talking about earlier. So nothing too crazy tonight, Tommy. And like I said, the Oilers, I brought this up in the morning show again. McDavid, he has struggled. I think the St. Louis Blues have been one of the hardest teams for him to score on since he's entered the league. So that's one thing I'll be keeping an eye on. And I didn't really watch the last game, but I know they pretty well got ragdolled is what I heard. So it'll be interesting to see, and just watch out. Robert Thomas, he's not the craziest player in the league, but he always seems to have the Oilers number. So, that's pretty well all I got, Tommy.
Trev, we're getting people saying more Trev. Put the damn kid on camera. We need to see more of you, pal.
Okay, let's see.
There we go. We go.
Hey.
Combine. There he is. And you fixed the panel.
That's why I turned the camera off.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. There you go.
I was hammering away, Tommy.
No, you weren't. You don't know how to use. Actually, you're part Italian. You know how to swing a hammer.
Of course. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you do. All right. Let's see some text here before we go inside the Oilers locker room. Cat's coming up in about 10 minutes to go through game changers. Joel wants to bring up players from the AHL before the deadline. And then how about this one, Trev? I want to get to this one before we get to audio and video. It's from Carmen, KGill97 via the Nasty Chat. Carmen says, Tommy, what would you go for? Go all in for Buchnevich or go for a combination of good players who are cheaper? And in parentheses, Henrique, Walker, Mantha, Tarasenko, Dowd, etc. Carmen, I am all for balance and making sure you have a nice lineup where you can go and attack and wave after wave. And then if a guy gets hurt on the back end, you have a guy that's reliable. I like balance. So going all in for one high-impact player, I don't prefer compared to going in and adding a few pretty good bodies, especially if people are having issue with the bottom six and you get a couple of guys and it rounds out the forward unit and it gives you some defensive depth. I'm all for that, certainly. So that's my take on it. Trev, how would you look at that?
Yep, as my grandma always says, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I'd like to spread the wealth, less or more. Right, if you could get more players that could contribute, as opposed to just one player that can contribute when he's on the ice. I totally agree with you, Tommy. I think if the Oilers went for a few pretty good players as opposed to getting one star, that's the route I'd take as well.
I like just rounding out the roster. That's just me. And, I mean, they have a lot of high offensive firepower. We know that. We've been talking about it for years. When you have McDavid and Draisaitl, we know that they can score. Now, can they defend? Can your depth lines give you something? Can they tilt the ice? I like having that ability and to be confident when you roll out your fourth line for 8 to 10 minutes a night, to be confident to roll out your third line for 12 to 15 minutes a night, depending on penalties, to be confident in going with your big dogs in the top two lines. I like that reassurance. That's just me. They have the high-end talent. So that's why, Carmen, I would go for spreading it out and getting a few good players as opposed to just one guy and like Trev and his grandma said, putting all your eggs in one basket. So grandma's a wise one, Trev.
Yeah, absolutely she is. And for sure, and just most recent case, you look at the recent Stanley Cup champions, the Vegas Golden Knights, right? Well, what was one thing about them that stood out a lot? It was depth and being able to roll all four lines. It wasn't just one line, that was unbelievable, kind of like the Oilers had last year. They'd roll out line one, and then they'd go to line four, So you do that, and that's so hard to compete against with other teams, right? Which is exactly why they won the Cup, right? That's where they beat the Oilers. So I'm definitely with you there, Tommy.
All right, brother. Look at us. Shake and bake. Teamwork.
Yeah, we're just agreeing. We're agreeing on everything. Great minds think alike, they say.
Great radio. Yeah. All right. What say you? 780-218-9999. Get at us in the Nasty Chat. Time now to go inside the locker room. Let's hear from head coach Chris Knobloch.
Ryan, to play tonight, is that kind of still...
Yeah, that's the expectation. He was on the ice today. I haven't checked with the trainers right now, but I think he's good to go.
Do you expect much shuffling around, or you feel happy with what you saw with our forward
I
lines?
liked our four lines. I thought they contributed. I thought they played well, so we're not making any changes there.
How have you seen Holloway handle, sort of his pace and involvement? There's sometimes just as special teams games he might not get on a lot. Is Is he getting better at just getting back out there and doing the same thing every shift?
No, I've been very happy with his play. I thought he's been pushing the pace. He's been being physical. He's made some good offensive plays when the opportunity's been there. Right now he's playing on line, and his minutes have been limited just because he's not on a power play. He's not on the penalty kill right now. And, yeah, it's unfortunate. We'd like to get him a little more ice, but right now we do like what he's doing.
Have you seen that in coaching in the AHL as well? I mean, every step players go up. They're maybe not the star that they used to be on the team. Is that part of the process of maturing for some of these guys, is handling those roles and understanding, hey, you're not going to get out there all the time?
Yeah, I think that's for every player. And whether you're a young player or an older player, sometimes things just don't work out because as a coach I'm managing 12 forwards every night, 6 defensemen, and also there's special teams, there's the flow of the game. Do we need a goal? Is there an opposition top line that we're trying to match? Is there the flow of the game from the referee standpoint? Is there a lot of power plays, penalty kills? There's a lot of things that are difficult. It was, if it's a lot more easier getting players ice time if there's not a power play. If there's just 60 minutes of 5-on-5 play and you can roll lines a lot more easier, then it's a lot more convenient. But there's more opportunities in the future for him to get more of a role and more ice time if he continues to play the way he has, and I've been very happy with his play.
You guys seem to find something maybe you've been looking for a few games, just attention to detail defensively, tighten it up, that sort of thing. How do you handle that success as a coach? Is it showing them what went well? Is it positive reinforcement? How do you try and roll that through tonight?
Reminders of what we're doing well. Things that have been an issue are a big part of the game, showing things that we've executed. And then, obviously there's reminders of things that we need to improve on. Yeah, we have to address those too. And it can't be all positive because obviously there's things that we need to work on that we have to address. But right now I think it's just reminders of what we need to do. And a lot of it is, it got interrupted with the break, and we've had enough time to readdress those things, and hopefully we're on the right track.
If you don't mind me asking this, when you have reinforcement, say, based off of a mistake, do you do more one-on-one type meetings, or is it a group thing, or how do you sort of strike that balance when there's feedback for a player to make sure they get it, but not?
If it's a reoccurring with one player, it's probably an individual thing. If it's a thing that's happening throughout our team, then we show it as a team. I think there's a balance on, if it's a mistake, that it's just a blatant mistake. It's like everyone knows there was a mistake happened. There's no reason to show it and address it. Everyone knows that. There's no reason to bring those up. But as a coach, you just have to find your spots of what's important to show and what's not.
It's a long season, so you also have to kind of pick your spots to a degree.
Surprisingly, you need to just continue reminding things. Like, you address something, you think the breakout's all worked out and you've addressed it and it's going smoothly, and then you move on to something else. Well, within a week or two or possibly 3, it's okay, we got away from the details of why it's not being, things aren't running smoothly. We have to readdress it. And it's just continual cycle with all the systems.
There's Chris Knobloch. Sounds like whack-a-mole to me, Trev. Like, one problem goes away, another one pops up. You got to deal with it. You almost sound annoyed there. Maybe that contributed to the 4-5-1 stretch coming out of the All-Star break.
Yeah, joys of being the coach, eh? Like, you hear about it. He's shuffled the lines more than he's liked to, and he's said that. So, I mean, he's looking for results. He hasn't quite got the results. Last game it was nice to see the Oilers get the W, which is why he's, hasn't changed much. So, it'll be interesting to see if he gets the same results tonight, and only time will tell.
Edmonton looking to wrap up this 5-game homestand with a 2-2-1 record. They have just the lone win coming the other night versus the LA Kings. That was a good win. Not perfect, certainly, and some things to work on for sure. Let's go to Darnell Nurse now and hear his take on how the team's been playing of late, as well as what he's expecting tonight. Trev?
Really happy with the effort and maybe the defensive awareness and just the way things went defensively. Last game that's kind of not an easy thing to carry over, but something that you can carry over to tonight.
Yeah, something I think, obviously when we play against LA, it's a really good team, and for us to be able to play better structurally and more committed on the defensive end, I think that was a big reason why we won that game. So I think that's definitely a performance and effort that we can duplicate and do again today.
Is that I don't know if it's a harder game to play, or is it more different than a lot of times you guys can kind of freewheel and outscore?
Yeah.
Or is it different playing those kinds of games?
I mean, that's what this time of the year is all about. There's not many of those freewheeling, open up type of games. I think every team is preparing to play the same way as the calendar gets later and later into the year. And for us, it's those type of games that we played a couple nights ago. That's what it's going to take to win here down the stretch.
For pretty much the entire regular season here, the D pairings have stayed mostly the same. Maybe just a thought on kind of with that level of consistency, how comfortable you get with each other's game and what the benefits can be of not a lot of changes?
Yeah, I think it's nice. Obviously, there's not even just with partner to partner, but the whole group of six. There's a lot of ownership in our group and a lot of a ton of cohesion. And I think every guy in there really cares about the guy beside him, and I think that's been a huge part of why our D-core has continued to grow and be better and better as the years gone on. Is because there's that level of commitment to each other, and all the amount of work and sacrifice that we put in side by side. I think it's brought the group really close.
One of the things Chris did when he got here was he had you guys all sit together in the locker room. Not like this is no one's ever done that before, but what would you say about that? And kind of, do you like it that way? What are your sort of comments on it now, a few months later?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think when you're in the heat of the battle in the middle of a game, obviously you can have some conversations on the bench, but with everything going on in the stands and on the ice, sometimes when you get to the room and you're able to decompress and think about it a little bit more, and you're able to just look at the guy beside you and have a conversation. It makes life a little easier, as opposed sometimes you'd have to scream across the room and in order just to get a conversation. So it's nice to be all together, and it's a small thing, but I think it's something we've definitely made the most of.
Darnell, when you compare this past month to before the All-Star break, when you guys were playing your best hockey, obviously the goals against has creeped up again. Can you talk about how challenging it is to keep that mental discipline, to be committed on the defensive side of the puck day in and day out?
Yeah, I mean that's what makes teams good in this league, is if you're able to bring it day after day. And I think you look back to the stretch where we win lots of games, and you could probably look at a few games and say those could have got away from us, and then there were some big moments that we were able to win. And there's been some stretches here where, since we've gotten back from the break, where there's been big moments where we weren't able to make maybe the defensive play or offensive play to bring the game back into reach. So for us, I think just staying committed and the belief that we have in the group and the guys next to us, I think that's been huge to get us even to this point in the season where we've rode the highs and lows of the season, to both extremes, it feels like. So for us to look at the whole picture and not just a week or a game at a time, and see that our group has done a lot of good things, and defensively, if you paint the same picture and create the same process of wanting to check the right way, more nights than not you're going to get the right result, and I think that's just our focus here.
Speaking of processes, speaking of processes, how about the process of trying to adjust your game with so many games in a short period of time, and just kind of troubleshooting that amidst all the game action right now?
I mean, it's been nice, actually, if I'm being honest. At the beginning of the year, and I mean, we've had 5-day breaks and 3-day breaks, 4-day breaks all sprinkled in, so it's just been nice just to go out and play and and get into that rhythm. I mean, that's when you get into the middle of the season, sometimes people call it the dog days, and it can be. It feels like every day just piles on top of the other. But I feel like we've managed it and handled it, and now we're getting to the point here where there's a lot of games being played over a short period of time, but there's not a lot of games left in the season, and it shows the importance of each and every night and each and every point that we have with this group. And I think this is the time of year where, as a group, we really look forward to playing.
Are you guys used to Coach Coffey and the other way around and the expectations and at this point?
Oh yeah, I would say so. I think as a group, you know what to expect. He's a straight shooter, but Coach has so much belief in us as a group and what we're capable of doing out there on the ice. And I can't speak for him and what he thinks of us, but I'd hope it's the same.
All right, there's Darnell Nurse getting set for the St. Louis Blues tonight, talking about the dog days of the season. Yes, the roller coaster ride that this season has been for the Edmonton Oilers. Tom Gazzola, Matt Kassian about to join us, and YouTube Trev with you here on the Oil Stream pregame show, live on location at Hudson's White Avenue. Come by, say hi. People starting to trickle in. I've only had VR Montenegro and Ginger come by and say hi. I have GCs. I'll buy you a beer. Come by and say hello. The guys that were firing darts back here, they didn't say hi. No GC for you. Take advantage of the specials that they have here at Hudson's. And what are you saying to Trev? What are you saying to Cass over here? What's going on in the group chat?
Oh yeah. Cass just quickly asked if who's the starting goalie tonight.
Of course. I sent Cass the lineup for tonight. I sent it to both of you guys. All right.
I got it. Let's bring Cass on, eh? Let's get his thoughts.
Let's bring him in. Hello, Cass. What's going on? You're muted, but unmute yourself and.
Well, I unmuted myself when you said that, and I'm scrolling through your game notes.
Yeah.
And I looked at the starting lineups in the game notes, and there's no goalie on there.
There's always goalies.
Oh, you went down to the starting goalies. I thought I was looking the wrong part of it. I thought you had it underneath, like with the rest of the lineups too, and I was like, did they not?
No.
Because I thought Stuart Skinner was, and then I just was like, am I crazy or did they change it? So no, we're good. We're good. Skinner's in. Not overly surprising, but yeah. Kind of hope some more nasties show up there and start capitalizing on some of those GCs, because why wouldn't you?
I'm looking forward to you get down here.
I know I need to, and I promise, Tom, it will happen, and we will hang out, and I will see the nasties, and I might steal a gift card, and it'll be good.
Oh, you wouldn't steal. I would give as many as you want, Cass.
Yeah.
As many as you want. This is your show too, buddy. This is your show too. Matty Kassian with us, our game analyst, as we get you set for the Oilers and the Blues. 780-218-9999. Text us, or if you're watching on the YouTube channel, get in on the nasty chat. Cass, you heard Darnell Nurse talking about the dog days of the season, details in their game, stuff that we hear a lot about, certainly, and peaks and valleys, and sometimes one thing's working for the team and another thing that was working goes by the wayside. And then you heard Chris Knobloch talking about it. It's like whack-a-mole to a certain extent. But for you as a player dealing with this time of year, just about at the stretch drive, but not quite there, what's it like?
It can be the dog days for sure. Well, where you just for some players, it's a little tougher to get some of that motivation. Now the Oilers are kind of in the thick of it, in the thick of a battle. So you don't want to say that guys should be like, oh man, it's just part of the grind. I feel like it's either teams that know they're out of it or teams that know they're in it that really suffer from that, because it's like, we're not going to change bench positions in the standings, or, really you're just, if you're really looking at it, you're looking at, okay, well, I'm trying to secure a contract for myself or improve on myself. And, you maybe deal with dog days a little bit more, but it does get you, and there's more to it, especially playing in Canada. I mean, you're light on vitamin D. It's cold outside. You're not out in the sun, and it can wear on you a little bit mentally. So yes, there are the dog days. At the same time, Tommy, you're a professional, and your job is to be consistent, and your job is to not make those little mistakes, and to not check out mentally, even if it's just for a night or two.
Listen, like you said, they're all pros, and you're supposed to stay on it night in, night out. But people are, they have tendencies, and even for pro athletes, I look at baseball specifically, Cass, and you can't tell me that sometimes in like mid-July, those guys aren't out there. I'm not going to say half-assing it, but they're
you
not
play like
as
300,
dialed in.
300 games a year, Tom. It's like, yeah. You pull a hamstring for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Granted, these are important games, regardless of if it's not the stretch drive or it is a stretch drive. If you're the Edmonton Oilers trying to create separation tonight, Cass, maybe more importantly, get the Blues out of it. I mean, they're 6 points back of a wild card spot going into action tonight. Like, this would be a huge blow if the Oilers can beat the Blues in regulation, would it not be?
Yeah, it would. I don't want to say it takes them right out of it, but St. Louis has been struggling and floundering a little bit here. And if you're Ken Holland, maybe you're especially hoping for a win tonight, because maybe it makes St. Louis more likely to be sellers, which it does look like they probably will be heading into the trade deadline. But yeah, you can really crush some dreams here with a big game and a big win. Again, St. Louis kind of just on the cusp, on the verge, trying to make up some ground for them. But Calgary has started to play better, now a point up. If you lose today for the St. Louis Blues, pretty tough to look at the Nashville Predators and currently right now the Los Angeles Kings and say we have a hope of catching those teams. Like you're going to be in one. I mean, really it's playoff hockey from here on out for the St. Louis Blues. If they want to get into the playoffs, it's going to be a tough road for them. So for the Edmonton Oilers, I mean, I don't want to say you eliminate them tonight, but you certainly deal a massive blow to their chances.
Yeah, the Blues, 24 games remaining. They've dropped their last 2. They lost last night in Winnipeg, 4-6 in their last 10, and not particularly great on the road at 13-15-1 rolling into action tonight. Let's get into game changers with our game analyst, Matt Kassian, brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. You know, Damon is community driven and understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate, a good buddy of ours. And cast number 1 on Game Changers tonight, like a good neighbor.
Yeah, good old Edmonton Oil King Jake Neighbors back in town. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but saw him underneath at the rink today, and he just seemed excited. And rightfully so. You know, you're playing in a city where you've played a lot of hockey, where you've had a lot of success, and you're coming off a game against the Edmonton Oilers where you had your first career 3-point game with a goal and 2 assists for Jake Neighbors. It was a fantastic game for him. Now, we looked at that game and it was horrible for the Edmonton Oilers, but for Jake Neighbors it was pretty good. But it is always fun, Tommy. I know we're cheering for the Oilers. And most people that are watching this are cheering for the Oilers, but it is fun to see local kids and kids that played for the Oil Kings that we had an opportunity to really, see them turn from kids into young men and then transition to pros. It's just fun to watch. So, when players like this come into town, I always, and it's a little facetious, but it's like, I hope he gets a hat trick and Edmonton wins 6-3 or 7-3 or 8-3, right? Like, that's kind of how I feel. I'm like, I want him to play really well, but I want the Edmonton Oilers to play even better and to dominate a hockey game. But a young player that really is coming into his own this season, having a fantastic year. Starting to produce a little bit on the power plays for the Blues, with 6 power play goals in the season, 19 goals this year, should most likely hit that 20 goal mark for the first time, which would be amazing for him. But just a player that, and he's had his ups and downs in his NHL career early on, where there was some growing pains and struggles for him early on, and he sent back down for chunks of time and really had to work his way back into it, and has really just blossomed this year into a player that the St. Louis Blues were hoping he'd be. And I think people that paid attention to him and that were Oil Kings fans and monitored him after his junior career were hoping as well. So just a really good young man, really great player. Excited to see him play tonight. And as I said, I hope he plays well and Edmonton plays way better.
Well said, Cass. Is he one of your clients, by the way?
No,
I know
he's not,
you deal
actually.
With okay.
Nope.
I was like, wow, you're really pumping him up.
No, I like local kids, but and kids that they come through the Oil King system, because if you are a fan of hockey, the Oilers are great and amazing and fun to watch, but so are the Oil Kings too. And junior hockey always will hold a special place for me. So I'm just I like watching those kids and monitoring them and seeing how they're doing along the way too.
Rightly so, Cass. Neighbors did have a 3-point night against Edmonton on the 15th. Held pointless since, and that's the ups and downs of being a young player in the NHL. I'm sure he's going to be fired up tonight to play in Edmonton, his old stomping grounds, and I feel like there's going to be some friends and family and such in tow cheering him on. Really quickly about Jake Neighbors, Cass, really nice kid. I didn't deal with him a ton. I just hello, maybe talked to him once or twice. But he had some leftover sticks that Oil Kings equipment manager Rogan Dean hooked up for me, and I hadn't switched to the P28 curve until I got those, and they're Neighbors. I still use one of them. Awesome, and the blade is like it's as wide as Dreisaitl's burger flipper.
Yeah.
But it's not as long, and great sticks. And I'm like, oh, no wonder he's good at tips, and he's a dog in front of the net.
Yep,
That
got
stick
the
gets on
paddle.
everything.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got the paddle there. So been using that for the last, I don't know, a few months, but good kid, and looking forward to seeing him have a nice night tonight.
Yep.
Hey, if the Oilers win, that's even better with Neighbors having a good night. I'm with you on that, Cass, 100%. It is Game Changers with Matt Kassian. Number 1 was Like a Good Neighbors. Number 2, who starts better, Cass?
This is huge, Tommy. This is absolutely huge. If you look at the St. Louis Blues and their season, when they are leading after one period, Tommy, 15-1.
Yeah.
15-1 on the season when they're leading after one. When they're trailing after one, 5-17. 5-17. Like that's that 15-1, like that's a fan, and Edmonton's record is pretty good leading after one as well, but that is a huge record. Now they have struggled in first periods recently. They've got heavily outscored in first periods really since kind of right around the time or right before they played that Edmonton Oilers game where they haven't been putting the puck in the net in the first period. They have really struggled, St. Louis, with their starts. Now we've also seen Edmonton really struggle with their starts this last little stretch. Yeah. And for the Edmonton Oilers, you're catching the St. Louis Blues on a back-to-back night. You're catching them hopefully with a little bit less energy here. And there's an opportunity to come out of the gate here against a team that, just like Edmonton, has struggled early and hopefully take control of the game right from the start of right from the opening whistle, because Edmonton hasn't been good. St. Louis has probably been worse at the start of hockey games, so a pretty big opportunity for whoever seizes it, and I hope it's the Edmonton Oilers. Whoever seizes it, you look at Edmonton's record when up after a period, and they're not too shabby either. Let me just get to that. They're 18-3-1.
Yeah.
And if we go overall to that scoring first, even for St. Louis, they are 24-2. When they score first, Tommy, 24-2. Now, statistically, historically, most teams, you run around that 80% mark is kind of your historical average. You win a hockey game when you score first. And that's obviously better than that, significantly better than that. I mean, you are at a high percentage winning when you score first. For a St. Louis team that doesn't necessarily defend at a fantastic level, they certainly know how to clog it up and lock it down when they have a lead. So, really, really important for the Edmonton Oilers to come out of the gate today and really be playing from the drop of the puck.
Edmonton, meanwhile, like you said, Cass, 28-1 when scoring first. The Blues 24-2, like you mentioned. In that diatribe, it is Game Changers. Number 1 was Like a Good Neighbors. Number 2, who starts better? Number 3, stay out of the box.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is kind of a last time they played St. Louis. It was a penalty parade where they just kept taking penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty, and it just completely crushed their momentum. Now, for a penalty kill that really turned around a hockey game against the LA Kings, and most of us would point to that as being the turning point in the game when they were actually able to just build momentum and build energy and actually really start to play. Just stay out of the box today. Your penalty kill maybe is feeling a lot better. Hopefully he's feeling a lot better after that and being a big part of it. But the biggest favor you could do them is to stay out of the penalty box today. Like, don't, you can't afford another night where you have 14 minutes, 16 minutes in penalties. Like really, really important that when you're defending today, and actually not even just the defending, but I'm going to point to the offensive zone penalties that they took against St. Louis the last time that they played on February 15th. Like, don't take those offensive zone penalties. Completely unnecessary. completely unnecessary. Now, if you have a guy with a wide open net and you need to two-handed stick and snap it so he doesn't score, sure, go ahead. You need to grab him, wrap him up, drag him down so he doesn't score on an empty net, sure. Like guys going on a breakaway and you can trip him and not give him a penalty shot, sure. Like do that stuff. That's fine.
Right.
Not worried about those. But your bad penalties, your high sticking calls, which we've seen a few of, your offensive zone or neutral zone penalties, just I think important for a game tonight to just let's give the penalty killers a break. They started to play better again, but let's not rely on them too much.
Yeah, Cass, I'm glad you reminded us of what happened 2 weeks ago. The Oilers PK went 6 for 8. The problem there is that they allowed 2. They weren't particularly. I think of that Torrey Krug goal, and I was like, you knew it was going to be a night when that one went in. Slipped in under Skinner, who's he was too far out. It went under his pad, and they took a million penalties in that game, 8 to be exact. I'm obviously hyperbolizing, but and that was a stretch where they were just coughing up penalty or shorthanded goals. They're just all the time. It was like just leaky. And then in the last 3 games, better. They've only allowed 1 goal against while shorthanded. They went 4 for 4 against the Wild. Didn't win that game. They went 3 for 4 against the Flames. Did not win that game. 2 for 2 versus the Kings. Much better. And they got the result in the win column. So do not take penalties against this Blues team tonight because they'll burn you like they did back on the 15th. It is Game Changers with our game analyst, Matt Kassian. Number 1 was Like a Good Neighbors. And number 2, who starts better? Number 3 was Stay Out of the Box. Cass, I'm going to float the question of the night to you because I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it. And, of course, to our listeners and viewers, 780-218-9999 or in the nasty chat if you're watching on our YouTube channel. Cass, question of the night. Which potential trade targets entice you the most as we approach the deadline? I'll also add, how closely are you watching Pavel Buchnevich, who the Oilers obviously would be interested in? I'm told they've been looking at him. His name has definitely come up. But right now it's pretty quiet for the Oilers. Nothing is close, and we'll see what happens. Of course, Buchnevich, a very popular name among a few others right now.
Yep. Well, he would be one to watch, and one to watch tonight. Really good player, very, very good player. Does fit that top 6 mode if you're able to get him, and if you're able to make the money work, which is the complicating factor in all of this for the Edmonton Oilers, is the cap space. How do you make the cap space work, and how much extra are you going to have to pay? I mean, it's not a situation, and I know some of the nasties, they text in like 4-player trades, or you want to get a goalie and a defenseman and a forward, and you're like, you can't, you don't have the cap space to do it. And if you are moving out someone for a Buchnevich, I mean, you're going to have to trade a player with salary, and St. Louis Blues might want someone back included, like a Kulak, to make it work. And that scares me a little bit. So I like the idea of bringing in a top 6 forward. It's going to be much easier to bring in a third line centerman or a depth defenseman and make the money work, and hopefully not have to be moving out an important piece. Because if you're looking at Buchnevich, I think the conversation, I can't remember which insider it was that talked about it. Might have been Elliot Friedman. That talked about, you're looking at like a Warren Fogle and a Kulak for it. So, is he a potential trade target, Buchnevich? Yes, certainly. I think Henrique, I mean, his name's been tossed around. He certainly is as well. And I know it hasn't been talked. I've talked about it a bunch. I don't know how interested Edmonton is, but I think like Andrew Peak still, to me, if you can make that money work, because he's only at like 225, I believe, right-handed, big body, plays fairly solid defensive minutes, and can really solidify your defensive core on that right side. I mean, to me, that's like the easiest thing to do, because you have to get Columbus in that instance to eat like half of the salary. You get him for more than 1 year, and it becomes something where you can actually work with the money without having to trade another defenseman to maybe bring him in. So Ken Holland he's working the phones. Don't expect 8 moves. It's probably going to be 1. And we will really have to see. But the Buchnevich is an interesting one. If you could somehow make the money work and bring in a player of his caliber, hey, absolutely look to do it. It's just going to be tricky. And it does scare me a little bit if you're trading a defenseman as part of that package.
Cass, this text comes in from the Liquid Beaver via the text line. It says, "Hey Matt, when do you consider the stretch drive starts? Is it the last 10 games, 15 games? How do you look at it?"
I generally look at it the last 20. Like
Okay.
your last 20 games that's your stretch drive. Like if you're a team that's battling for positioning, which the Edmonton Oilers are, it's the last quarter of the season. So that last 20 games really, that's your stretch drive. Because you're trying to battle for position, you're trying to get yourself carrying good momentum in. You have 2 10-game segments, and a lot of teams look at the season and you kind of break it down into 10-game segments. So you have 2 segments left. You're not looking forward. There's no Christmas to look forward to. There's no All-Star break to look forward to. It's like, you're looking forward to playoffs, and
Right.
and you're like, okay, 20 games into playoffs, we got to get ourselves prepared and ready and positioned how we want to be. I usually for most guys, I think it's kind of in that 20 game mark, because 10 games, it's like, you're right there. Like
You're right there.
You're right
Yeah,
there. You're right
that's
there.
playoffs.
That's like 2.5 weeks. Like, so
Yeah.
the stretch drive, yeah, probably about 20 games.
This text that came in from John from the Fort, it kind of goes to something that was brought up earlier, and it says, "Hey Tommy, Cass, a good third liner that can moonlight top 2, a good 7th defenseman, and a 1B goalie." That's what John from the Fort would like to see.
You can't trade for
why,
3. You can't trade for. You're not going to get 3.
I know, but I'll finish the point here. It's because someone asked earlier, I can't remember who, if it was in the nasty chat or the text line, but it was, would you prefer one like big name, high impact player in a trade at the deadline, or would you prefer 1 or 2 guys to help round out the roster? And I said I'd like to round out the roster. I like waves. I like depth instead of the flashy guy. And I also added the caveat that the Oilers have a pretty solid, formidable offensive punch already.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, if you can get the offensive punch better, great, sure.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. But I lean more towards the depth as well. And I so heavily, even beyond that, lean towards the defensive depth. Like if it's a number 7 type of guy, with the reason being is you have not dealt with any injuries at all. Now, hopefully that
knock on wood,
continues to be the case. But you've lost 3 games to injury for your defenseman all season, which is incredible. That's incredible that you've had that. Now, if someone goes down, all of a sudden you're like, okay, well,
you're hooped.
Yeah, like Broberg. I mean, people are like Broberg, but we saw him here and he wasn't ready. Now, maybe with playing more and playing more in the AHL, but he's been banged up a little bit too. So you're just kind of like, the cupboards are pretty bare.
It's not ideal.
No, it's not ideal. So I think that is where you're looking first, Tommy, if you can make something work. And I'm with you. I'm more on the depth side than the big flashy name. Now, could the big flashy name work? Yeah, it could. But to me, it's probably going to be way too expensive and difficult to make that trade work.
We'll see what Ken Holland and co can do. Jeff Jackson obviously involved in all of that as well. Tom Gazzola, Matt Kassian with you. I'm live on location at Hudson's White Ave. If you're coming by, come say hi to me. I'll buy you a beer. I've got a ton of GCs to give away. Cass, people joking about, where was it? It was in the nasty chat. Someone put up a post about a meme of like Bart and Milhouse in drag and being like, that's how you get $50 GCs from Tommy at Hudson's. It's not like that. It's not like that. I just don't. Oh, stop it. Oh,
and hey,
stop it.
I think YouTube Trev just in 50 seconds ago.
What do you do?
Breaking news.
Oh, okay.
Breaking news.
What happened?
This is actually scary.
What happened?
This is scary. Chris Tanev has been traded to the Dallas Stars.
Wow. That's a good team. There's depth.
Oh boy. There's depth there.
I missed it. What was the haul?
I haven't seen, he didn't. I haven't had a chance to look at it here yet. It was just a YouTube Trev that broke it to me in the our private chat, as it were.
Okay.
So we'll get to what the haul was on that. But Tommy, that's man, Dallas was really good before. That is wow. Like you have, oh man, your defensive depth just got a lot better. And they already had pretty stable defensive depth. They have a ton of offensive punch. They have a ton of offensive depth. They have guys that grind. They have goaltending. Dallas is going to be one tough out in the West. That may have just jumped them. I think I had them kind of second or third in the threat for the West. that may have moved them up 1 or 2. Like that could be, if Edmonton ends up running up against them in the conference final, if Edmonton gets deep, that's going to be a tough out. Dallas is going to be a very, very good team with Tanev coming in. Depending on what's going out, we have to wait and see.
Yeah, LeBron a couple minutes ago was saying trade call still pending, but hearing Tanev is being traded to Dallas. Yeah, thank you, Trev, for the update on that. Yeah, that's a great ad for the Dallas Stars. That man is a warrior without question, and we'll see what they had to give up to get Chris Tanev. So if you're listening and watching, Chris Tanev to the Dallas Stars, there's some late breaking news. All right, Cass, finally, just what kind of game are you anticipating between these two teams tonight?
One that has like 80 penalties. I mean, I'm hoping, I'm really hoping we get a 60-minute performance from Edmonton. I think you're going to see a St. Louis Blues team that's tired, that lost a big game yesterday, but knows their playoff lives are on the line. So you're going to see desperate hockey from them. Maybe not the most energetic hockey, but you're going to see desperate hockey. And the Edmonton Oilers, much like we said going into that LA game, I think you need to have the compete level to match. Like I think for the Edmonton Oilers, if you match from the drop of the puck, the compete level of the St. Louis Blues, you win the hockey game because you're a better team.
All right, Cass. We'll see if the Oilers can do that tonight. Great stuff as always, my friend, and we'll catch up with you on the postgame.
Absolutely, buddy. Looking forward to it.
That is Matt Kassian, our game analyst, bringing us another stellar edition of Game Changers, brought to you by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. I saw Corey B. He is here. Corey B., come by and get your GC. I got a beer or two for you, my friend. And I did have a few texts that I saw in the nasty chat that I wanted to read. Dudley says, Tommy, I've been seeing all those memes about the way you hand out the Hudson's GCs. LOL, I'm happy I was able to give the nasty chat and all the EST listeners something to giggle about. That was you, Dudley. Well played. Well played. It has indeed turned into a running gag. I like to distribute them evenly amongst the nasties who come by and say, hi, I see Zedmo wants to crash at my place. Zedmo, no, that is my fortress, if you will. And what do we think of the Raj Mahal? Thank you very much. The Raj Mahal as a nickname for Rogers Place. What do you think of that one, Trev?
I was wondering. I was like, what are we calling Raj Mahal? Yeah. Actually.
By the way, cheers to the nasties
Cheers.
On this Wednesday. Yeah, I got a Guinness. Thank you to the crew here at Hudson's White.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, no, I didn't realize, just because I've been going to Rogers Place, I guess I'm a little bit more familiar with it. So I'm kind of, I've grown used to, just how amazing it is. I know it's amazing. I'm blown away every time I go in the building. But when I went to the Bruins game last week with my buddies, they're from Calgary, so they go to the Dome. They're used to the Dome, right? The Saddle Dome, and they're like, it's pretty rowdy.
Saddle Dome.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it was pretty cool seeing their reactions going into Rogers Place. Raj Mahal, I definitely think that name works quite a bit. But as soon as we went in, and you see the ice, you just see how open it is. The Jumbotron, like the biggest screen in North America or Canada, whatever it is. They were like, holy crap! Like I didn't realize, like, this is just insane. So Raj Mahal is very fitting, I think, Tommy. And I definitely, that should stick. I can't believe no one's I haven't heard of that before.
That's a really good one, and I like it because, like, the Taj Mahal, obviously a wonderful, beautiful thing. The architecture, the history, the meaning behind it, and it has that prestige, right? And I think on the oil stream today, someone said, "What about the oil can?" And I was like, "Yeah, like that fits." And hardworking, blue collar city. You've got the refineries close by, and it's the heartbeat of our province, the oil industry and the energy industry. But like oil can, and you think of can, it's like, you kick a can, and oil drums they're not particularly nice, shiny objects. They're functional. But Rogers Place is a really nice, shiny thing. So I like the Raj Mahal, and there's nothing wrong with the oil can. But I think if you would call Rexall Place the oil can or the oil drum or whatever, something to do with the industry, the energy industry, that was more fitting. But Rogers Place, the Raj Mahal, that's my vote. Goes to the Raj Mahal as well. So let's go with the Raj Mahal. Can we make it work? Do you like it? 780-218-9999 or via the nasty chat. Corey B picked up his GC. Corey B also rocking an Ethan Morrow jersey. Great number. And Ethan Morrow, a pretty good Oiler, former captain. I like it. Come by, say hi if you're coming down to Hudson's White Avenue. I'm on location. Should be a good one. Oilers and the Blues. Jake Neighbors just did a bench hit. I think that was with Uncle Gene. Very nice. Very nice indeed. We'll see if the Oilers can keep him in check tonight. He had a 3-point night against the Oil back on the 15th. Trev, let's go back inside the Oilers locker room. We have one more guy to hear from. Who is it?
From the Oilers locker room, yes, Dylan Holloway. Let's hear from Dylan Holloway right now.
You look like maybe you've been skating really well. Do you feel like you're starting to get more involved in sort of the guts of the game and get the pace going for yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I think, big thing for me is just get my legs going early, try and play physical, create some energy for the boys. So I feel like I've been doing that, and just continue to do that.
You're also in a role in which, if it's a penalty-filled game or depending on the flow of the game, there could be some gaps between shifts. How have you learned how to manage that recently? Yeah,
I think the hardest part about that is just mentally you got to stay pretty dialed. Sometimes it's a little hard when you're resting on the bench there for a bit and kind of get the legs going a bit, but through TV timeouts you kind of get out there, buzz around a bit, and kind of try and stay fresh. And then every opportunity you get, you try and make the most of it.
How much, when this team is at its best, there's contributions kind of coming from everywhere, not just goals, but momentum shifting shifts and hits and that sort of thing. Yeah. How much do you guys, on the third and fourth lines talk about that, about just finding ways to shift momentum, whether it's scoring goals or not? Yeah,
I think that's definitely our goal. Before we go out for shifts, sometimes let's have a good one. Let's go bang some bodies or something. But I think the biggest thing for us, kind of in the bottom six there, is just kind of create momentum when we can, try and create energy, and try and set guys up for good shifts after us.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, it seems like a long time ago, he used to be a center all the time, and now, of course, he seems to play more wing. Ryan McLeod's done it. You do it a bit. How would you kind of compare center and wing, and what you feel maybe right now you're most suited to feel more comfortable at?
Yeah, I think center, you definitely get more puck touches. It's a bigger role, you're more responsible defensively, opposed to the wing where you're just kind of up by your D-men. But, I think for me, I'm comfortable in either position. Center, you kind of get more puck touches and you get a little bit involved. So I like that part about playing center, but I like playing both positions.
Dylan, Southern Alberta connection, you cross paths with Jake Neighbors at all or play against him along the way?
Yeah, growing up, played against him a little bit. He's obviously an incredible player. And then throughout the summers here, I've ran into him quite a bit. So, I'd say I'm pretty good buddies with him. We don't hang out regularly, but when I do see him, it's pretty fun. I see him at Stampede every year, so it's fun to cross paths with him there.
Nice guy off the ice, pain to play against, probably.
Yeah, probably a good way to put it. Yeah, he plays hard, plays the game the right way, and then off the ice, he's a great guy.
All right, that was Dylan Holloway. A lot of people meeting up at the Stampede in the summer. It is a lot of fun, even though it's in Calgary. But Holloway looking to build his game. I like what I'm seeing from him. I'm encouraged by it. The numbers and the offensive point, it's not there yet, but I think he continues to work at it, and he'll finally, it'll click. The nuances of the game, and he'll start to see where his opportunities might be, and he'll take advantage. I'm encouraged by the play of Dylan Holloway. A couple of updates to get you in regard to the trade. Chris Tanev heading to Dallas, and Saravalli is saying the Flames get a second-round pick, a prospect, and an additional conditional pick in exchange for Tanev. So we'll see what the prospect is. A second-rounder, that's pretty good. And then another conditional pick. We'll get the details of that. Everybody's saying the trade call is pending with the National Hockey League. I did want to read or get to one other thing that I was looking at just before that. But you know what? We're going to put it off, and we're going to go inside the Blues locker room now and hear from head coach Drew Bannister.
Kapanen's going to come out, and Prun will come out. Tucker will go in, and Alexandrov, and then Binner's in that. So.
With Kapanen, what would you have liked to see better the last few games?
Well, I think he's a player. He's a good hockey player for us, and we need to see more. There's some instances in the game where I feel like he's trying to force things, and less is more right now for him. So I think this is a time where he can kind of reset his game a little bit and get back to playing the hockey that we need from him, because we can't have him in the stands. Like he's too good of a hockey player. But in the same instance, if players, and Cappy's no different, if players aren't going to play the way we need them to, then whether it's missing a shift or sitting out for a period or finding themselves in the stands, like that's the direction we're going to have to go in.
I want to ask you about Jake Neighbors. Obviously, Edmonton fans know him well from his days here in junior, but it looks like he's been just taking his game to a new level.
Jakey's consistency in his game in the last month to 6 weeks here, he's really taken off. He's turned into a real good NHL player. There's a lot of good things in his game. Good two-way player, but the offensive side is certainly coming for him. I think he's got 19 goals now. He gets a lot of his goals around the net. He goes to the hard areas. He gets rewarded for it.
He's a real character guy too. I guess does that kind of bring out.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was the captain of the team here in his last year, and great leadership qualities for a young player. Does everything the right way. Brings a lot of energy to the room. Real good teammate. Sticks up for his teammates. So a lot of potential there moving forward, not only off the ice but on the ice, and what he does and what he brings to our team.
Drew, I was covering the Oilers in '97. You were on the team. What do you remember of the playoff against Dallas?
Yeah, it was a great run. Yeah, I remember the last goal. I remember some of the injuries that we had in that series, and guys fighting through. But it was a good time to be part of the organization and be part of that run and that series.
I remember Ronnie Lowe saying he wasn't sure whether he should go and hug Cujo or Toddy when he scored the goal.
That big save that he made on Nieuwendyk, and then it goes the other way not too far later, and someone that doesn't score a lot, got a lot of breakaways, that didn't score a lot, puts it in the back of the net. But that was a pretty exciting time.
Who were you playing with then as a partner? Because you played all.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was playing with Kevin, but Kevin was injured at that point, and then Mush went out. I think it must have been in the first game. I think he went out with the injury. So, obviously, I think it was Boris Mironov and Luke played a lot. So they were moving a lot of different guys, because there was a young group of us, myself and Dan McGillis, and I'm trying to think of the other guys who were there at that time. But it was three young guys and kind of 2 or 3 older guys that were kind of mixed in the group and got an opportunity to play, and it was a fun time, like I said.
You got sure you were really young. You're 22. Was it a shock? Do you mean
It was a big shock, because I got traded on the plane. And back then there wasn't a lot of cell phones. It was the phones in the back of the seats, if you remember that. That's a long time ago. I found out from one of the media that because we were in the air when the deadline passed, and he must have called in and found out. So he kind of hinted to me. He didn't want to tell me, but then I got off the plane, and I think Terry got the phone call and let me know that I was traded to Edmonton. So
because you were the second pick in Tampa in the first year in the league.
Yeah, so Roman Hammerlick was the first pick that year, and then I was the second pick, I think 26th overall that year.
And then Slats traded you in Anaheim.
Right after the morning skate for Bobby Dallas. So we switched. Bobby didn't play that game, but I grabbed my stuff and went over to the other room and jumped on the ice.
There's not much walk from the dressing room to Anaheim.
The 2 times that I was traded, they were strange trades for sure.
With Kevin Hayes, what's kind of his path forward to getting back to his game?
I mean, I talked to Hazy this morning. I think he's got to simplify his game, stopping and starting on pucks. He's somebody that I respect a lot. He cares a lot about the team. He cares a lot about his teammates. But I think, and he's not the only one. We need more from certain guys, and Hazy's one of those guys.
How's the coverage?
All right, that was head coach of the St. Louis Blues and former Oiler Drew Bannister. Going down memory road there when he got traded to Edmonton. It was late in the season. He only played 1 regular season game and then 12 playoff games during that run. He was mentioning the injuries there. Great memory. And then played 34 games the following season in 97-98 before being dealt to the Anaheim Ducks for Bobby Dallas. Bobby Dallas was a good veteran defenseman. Felt like he was with Anaheim forever, and Bannister went there. Then Bannister went back to the Lightning, played a bit for the Rangers, wrapped up his career in the NHL, one more game with the Ducks in 01-02, and then ended up in Europe for the remainder of his career, wrapped it up in 2011-2012 with the Brayhead Clan of the EIHL, a veteran of 164 NHL games, 25 assists, 5 goals, 161 penalty minutes. Drew Bannister, former Oiler, going through that 97 playoff series. Great memory from him. And nice to hear those stories from the guys that were on that team and that I think a lot of people probably don't remember were a member of that 97 Oilers run. Okay, I did want to get to a couple things really quickly. There was just the one other game on the schedule in the NHL tonight. In the second period, there is 7 minutes left between the Rangers and the Jackets at MSG. 1-0, the Rangers lead it. And then other hockey action in the PWHL. Ottawa welcoming in New York to town. Ottawa leads 1-0 midway through the second period. Let's get to some text, 780-218-9999. And you can also get at us in the nasty chat. Thank you, Brendan from Windsor, sending in a picture saying, did you know Ron Jeremy was in Ghostbusters as an extra? I did somehow know that, being a big-time Ghostbusters geek. And thank you for sending the photo. Fat Dan follows up and says, if you could get Tarasenko, Dowd, and a bottom pair depth D for near the same price as 2 firsts plus for Buchnevich, yes, please. Fat Dan, who follows up with, I get that they're human too, but they don't get to have dog days after their start. Swallow some vitamin D pills and buck up. Jeez, from Fat Dan. And that goes back to our conversation earlier about the dog days of the season. We're getting into the stretch drive here. So Edmonton, no real excuses. Like Fat Dan said, they had such a bad start that they can't really take any days off, in my opinion. YouTube, Trev, get yourself back on camera. It's been a fun show so far. It's getting packed in here, actually. Hudson's White Avenue. If you're coming down, say hi to me. Say hello to me. I can't read your mind. Don't just make eye contact with me. I will hook you up with the GCs. I've got a whole bunch of them. I've got 10s, 20s, and a few 50s, but I have to give or save some of those 50s for the morning show. Trev?
Tommy. Yeah, so it's almost time. It's almost game time. I'm kind of, I have no idea. I haven't been really accurate in my predictions lately, Tommy, and just looking at the last 5 games, they've lost some high-scoring games, and then they've lost some low-scoring games, and the games they've won have been high and low. So it could be a blowout. It could be, a very, defensively set game. So I really don't know what to expect. One thing I do know, they have to show up. Cass said they need to start on time and they need to be way better. Stay out of the box. The penalty kill has been better. So hopefully that trend continues tonight for the Oilers. And it'll be interesting to see. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy that it's filling up there. I wish, and it's Wing Wednesday. Are you kidding me? Hudson's Wings and nothing better.
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, I love some wings. I won't be at this one, but next one I'll sure be down because I love me some Hudson's Wings.
They are really, 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 really good. Come on down if you're not doing anything. If you're close by Hudson's White Avenue, I'll be here all night long. I was thinking of going down to watch the game, cover the first 2 periods, and then drive back. But the roads, and it's still kind of busy. And you know what? The vibe here is good. I'll stay here all night. Corey B is here. VR Montenegro and his lovely wife Ginger are here, and I feel like there's probably going to be a few other nasties stopping by. So I'm going to stick around for the entirety of the game. No patio to enjoy this. Fine Guinness on, if you know the joke. But I've got one that the crew here at Hudson's hooked up. So you know what I'm talking about, right? Do you remember?
Unfortunately
no, you
not.
Don't.
Letting you down.
In the draft, the what was it, like the patio or summertime draft, I took a Guinness on a patio on St. Patrick's Day. I might have been a little bit hungover plus buzzed because we did beer of the week with Scott Laurie that day. So I mistakenly took Guinness on a patio on St. Patrick's Day, which was a horrendous pick and has dogged me ever since.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, you don't want to do that, Tommy.
No, whoopsies. Whoopsies. We're just over, less than 3 weeks away from St. Patty's Day. Hopefully it's nice and warm by then. I like the chances of that happening. See what's going on in the nasty chat. Fish Tank says trading 2 first would be a terrible plan. McDiesel says Mr. leaving his digits on gift cards. I do not do that. I do not do that at all. The nasty chat, you guys are great. I appreciate it as always. Really quickly, let's get into starting lineups one more time. And if you haven't heard, Chris Tanev on his way to the Dallas Stars. In return, the Flames will get a second-round pick as well as a prospect and a conditional pick. I haven't seen any updates since on that, but I'm taking a quick look right now. Patty Steinberg, our good friend, says the Flames are returning 50% salary in the Chris Tanev deal to Dallas. So a second, a conditional pick, and a prospect for Tanev, plus the Flames retain 50%. That's a pretty good deal for the Calgary Flames and the Dallas Stars, I would say. I'm curious to know which prospect it is. And then Sarah Volley also saying that the Canucks are making progress on a deal with Elias Pettersson, 8-year contract extension. So that's huge for the Vancouver Canucks. We'll see what the Oilers can do heading into the deadline. Pavel Buchnevich, I feel like a lot of people will be watching him tonight from a St. Louis Blues team that's looking to stay alive in the hunt for a wild card spot. 6 points back going into action tonight. Lineups for this one, for the Oilers, staying the same as what we saw the other night in the win against LA. McDavid between Draisaitl and Hyman. Nugent Hopkins between Kane and Janmark. McLeod between Fogle and Perry. Then Derek Ryan centering Dylan Holloway and Connor Brown. On defense for the Oilers, Nurse with CC, Ekholm with Bouchard, Kulak with Desharnais. Out for the Oil, Sam Gagner. As for the St. Louis Blues, Robert Thomas between Pavel Buchnevich, who everybody's going to be watching, of course. Jordan Kyrou on the other wing there with Robert Thomas. Braden Shen centering Zachary Bolduc and Jake Neighbors. Kevin Hayes with Brandon Saad and Alexei Toropchenko. Oscar Sundquist with Nikita Alexandrov and Nathan Walker. On defense for the Blues, Nick Leddy with Colton Parayko. Torrey Krug with Justin Falk. Marco Scandella with Tyler Tucker. Scott Perunovich comes out of the lineup, and so too does Kasperi Kapanen. No Sammy Blais for the Blues. Between the pipes tonight, your starting goalies, 25-year-old Stuart Skinner for the Oil, 26-13-2, 270 GAA, 903 save percentage, 2 shutouts in 42 games this season. He has a 1-1-1 record, 292 GAA, 909 save percentage in 3 games versus St. Louis over the course of his career. And at the other end of the rink, the veteran, 30-year-old Jordan Binnington getting the nod, 20-16-2 on the season, 293 goals against average, 909 save percentage, 3 shutouts in 41 games for Binnington. Lifetime versus the Oilers, Binnington has a 5-2 record, 289 GAA, 898 save percentage, 1 shutout in those 8 appearances versus the Oil. Really quickly, taking a look at any last-second texts. This one says, I heard the pregame, dug up an old binder for Tommy G to keep up the good mood. Toffoli and Bugstad would be a cup, I feel. And then I'm looking at like 1990-91 Pro Set. And in sleeves, I see Jeff Bukaboom, Dave Brown, Kelly Buckberger, Greg Hawgood, Chris Joseph, who I saw yesterday at the rink, and Kenny Linsman. That is a blast from the past. I remember getting those Pro Sets at, I believe it was Woolco or Woolworths for $1 a pack back in the day, and I have boxes of them at my parents' place. Great blast from the past. I appreciate that very, very much. And then in the nasty chat, everybody says LFG. See you in the Discord, Tommy. Get in the game day chat. I'm going to have to get in there and figure it out. Joel has been holding my hand in the Discord, and I have to figure out how to start posting in there. I will get in there. But that is going to do it for the Oil Stream pregame show, live on location at Hudson's White Avenue. Come by, say hi. I've got a bunch of GCs to give out. And doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl, whatever. I've got the same denominations to give to everyone. I don't, there's no discrepancy. That's all. Although the memes are hilarious. Come by, say hi, and I'll hook you up. Great vibes here at Hudson's White Avenue. For YouTube, Trev and Matty Kassian, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it, whether it's on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, or our audio stream. And then as well, if you watched on our YouTube channel. That'll do it. Enjoy the Oilers versus the Blues. Let's see if they can get a win to go 2-2-1 on this 5-game homestand. Ciao for now.